If you've ever watched Tremors and thought, what are those ugly monsters and where did they come from? Then stay tuned, I have an answer for you guys today. And it's actually not as crazy as you might think. Hey Fanily, it's McGann, bringing you another episode of The Fangirl where I refuse to take movie magic as an answer. So I love action sci-fi horror movies, and Tremors fits that bill so beautifully. Well, hold on, I am speaking on behalf of the original Tremors movie. There are a ton of straight-to-video sequels that are kinda, well, actually they're not that bad compared to a lot of other sci-fi straight-to-video sequels, but I'll definitely say the story kinda gets all wonky the farther down the line you go. But the original movie was pretty fantastic, even though they never figured out what the graboids were. And just in case you've never seen Tremors before, a graboid is like this 30-foot long sandworm, and they're subterranean and have multiple snake-like tongues. Now, from a movie-making standpoint, I get it. Sometimes there just is no good answer, and trying to solve the mystery ruins the fun. Plus, if you're not spoon-feeding answers to people, they're more likely to talk about the movie, which can amp up people to see it over and over again. And yes, that was a tactic way before YouTube existed and people had to speak to one another like barbarians. But after rewatching Tremors, I think I have an answer for what the graboids are, and it works pretty well despite a few stray details from Tremors 3 through 6 that make it a little bit more ambiguous of a theory. But to break down my notes, I thought it was really weird that these creatures came from nowhere and there were 4 of them. Now maybe one rogue creature could pop up in an area and that could be a thing, but 4 at once? That's pretty flippin' weird. My initial guess is that they're a pack or small herd that hunt together, but the movie doesn't really support that notion. The graboids are aware of each other's existence, but they don't really work together. They're out there competing for the same meals. So they're not hunting together by choice, it's more like they're following the same vibrations. And that actually makes it more confusing how they ended up in a place like Perfection, Nevada over some big city with a lot of commotion. I mean, true, there's some type of sandworm, but Nevada isn't really a desert. I mean, it's considered to be a desert, but I live nearish to Nevada in the desert land of El Paso, and the ground in the desert isn't loose sand like they're showing us in the movie. The ground is pretty compacted there, and the graboids look more suited to something like the Sahara Desert where they could maneuver through the sand with a lot more ease. The dried up grounds of the American deserts just don't really make sense for a creature like that to exist there. However, even though the ground in Nevada is pretty solid, the graboids move lightning fast. And that makes me think the reason we haven't seen graboids before is because they've been deeper underground. The movie tells us that graboids are blind, which means their evolutionary process had no reason for eyes. Mostly, creatures with no eyes are from some permanent subterranean setting or deep undersea. The problem, though, is that graboids are trying to hunt humans, and humans live above ground in lighting that is very harsh, which is another reason why appearing in Nevada makes no sense. But that does tell us that humans are not a graboid's typical source of food, and they don't usually linger that close to the surface. However, if the monsters were already acclimated to living deeper underground, probably a few hundred feet or more, then the earth would be more compacted or just flat out rock, and that would be much harder for a graboid to move through. In case that isn't making any sense, let me reference Dragon Ball Z. When Vegeta wanted to become a Super Saiyan, he started training at 500 times the Earth's gravity, and that in turn made him lightning fast in his normal gravity. Similarly, if a graboid is used to moving through very dense material like rock, coming up closer to the surface where the ground isn't as compacted could really speed them up. Being that deep under the surface would also explain why mankind has never seen them before, except in like, what, Tremors 4 was it? Where, oh, there's a stray one we have to kill. Oh no, a reason for a prequel. Actually, that one's not bad as far as sequels go, but still could have been a little bit more work in the writing department. But as far as mankind goes, we know more about what's in space than what's in the bottom of our own oceans. And evolution is happening all around us, very quickly in some species, so there are all kinds of possibilities that graboids are from Earth. And the graboid's neon orange blood is another clue that might help support this theory. There are some creatures out there that have yellow blood because it contains a high level of vanabin. And vanabin is an oxygen-carrying metalloprotein. Although, fair warning, I'm a movie person, not a science person. And there seems to be some debate out there as to whether or not vanabin transports oxygen or not. But if it doesn't move oxygen, the scientists have no idea what it does. And I don't know, I'll leave that part into the hands of people much smarter than me. But there is one creature in particular that has yellow blood that I need to talk about. Sea cucumbers. And I sincerely believe that that is our answer to graboids. Okay, you're free to call me crazy, but look up some pictures of sea cucumbers. They come in a variety of shapes and sizes, but they mostly look like a pile of defecation, sometimes featuring spikes. And that's exactly like the graboid we see plunging to its death. And that leathery skin of theirs could easily be waterproof, not to mention those extra tentacle-like tongues that could look like plants or eels to catch prey as it came by. And interestingly / gross enough, some human women actually discharge orange blood when their normal blood mixes with cervical fluid. Orange blood can also be a sign of infection, which could lead us down another path to saying the graboids were either pregnant females or ladies in heat, or just potentially infected, and that's why they came to the surface, because the infection spread to their brain and made them act all crazy. But any of those reasons could cover why the graboids started attacking people on the surface. They wanted a lover and couldn't find one, or they just went crazy and decided people sound yummy. In the second Tremors film, it is shown that they go above ground to reproduce, so the mating component could be a real issue for why they came so close to the surface. Although alternatively, if you hate that theory, you could say that the graboids are just evolving that rapidly that they suddenly come to the surface and spring out new little graboids because they're the fittest survivors. But to fully try and paint the scenario of what I'm suggesting, some sea cucumbers, or distant relatives of theirs, ended up in the depths of the ocean and evolved over time. They got larger because presumably there's a lot of empty space down in the ocean to fill, and being larger would make it easier for those sea cucumbers to survive against any predators and also reach out and grab other things to eat. Eventually, the sea cucumbers got so big and they ate everything around them, so they started eating through rock to see, hey, what's in here? And that's what gave them those impressively tough jaws. And hey, those snake-like creatures in their mouths aren't that far off from sea cucumbers now. They're known to toss out their guts to eat whatever bits they can find. But the graboids have just gotten so big that they aren't eating tiny little particles anymore. They are taking out much larger animals. And by burrowing into the side of the earth, the sea cucumbers could hide and effectively send out their tentacles to grab things that pass by that never saw them coming. It seems like a really wise evolutionary path. I could see why they would survive. But as we move to modern times, there was something that happened to disturb the graboids and send them upward. Maybe they were such good hunters that their food supply was running scarce. Or even they've gotten so big that they can't find enough food down below. Hey, I mean, maybe they're so hard to keep alive at this point that all the males have died off and the females are desperately looking for a male to mate with. So because there's no local Jim Bob graboid to get your jollies off with, they're off roaming the earth looking for their other half. So romantic. I can't pin down a perfect answer, but they started moving up until a group of them hit Perfection, Nevada. Considering that Nevada is just one state over from the Pacific Ocean, if the graboids were making a slow ascent, meaning they didn't just say, let's see the sun and go straight upward, it's very probable that starting from the edge of the ocean at the bottom of it could take you over a few states into a landlocked area. Because the graboids are so big, they can travel such vast distances so quickly, moving at even a slight angle could put them in Nevada or farther over. I hope that that has been helpful and enlightening and fun, but most importantly, do not forget, it might not be reality, but come on, graboids are sea cucumbers, totally. Derpity derp derp derp. Hey guys, yeah, I'm still here. If you're new here or never watched to the end of my videos, I usually take a few minutes towards the end and kind of hang out with everybody. We chill for a minute, talk about something random. But today, I'm derping in a relevant way, sort of. Little story time. So Tremors as a movie came out when I was like 3, and I remember my mom rented it and she was watching it with my uncle and my dad, and I'm sitting there on the floor like, wow, this movie's crazy. Because yeah, my parents totally didn't care about censorship or nightmares or such. But there's that pole vaulting scene where they have to go from rock to rock to get to the truck, which, oh, by the way, I think the Tremors can't get through the actual asphalt because they can't hear it as well, because if you think about how asphalt is made and the little tiny holes in it and such, it could be very sound dampening to where they're like, wait, something's over here somewhere maybe? But I remember watching the pole vaulting and my mom's going, oh, that's so lucky that they parked right by the road. And little sassy me just looks over and goes, of course they did. That's how they wrote it in the script. Because at the age of 3, I could see how conveniently unrealistic that plot point was. And that's the brief story of how I started dissecting movies, and as you can see, there was no hope for me to do anything else with my life. I could have never been anybody else. Cheers! Anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next crazy monster theory. Being that deep underground. No. What do you need? Okay, go watch your robot then. And Vanabin is an oxygen-carrying metalloprotein. And Vanabin is an oxygen-carrying metalloprotein. Some sea cucumber. I honestly can't pin down a perfect answer, but they started going up until they hit perfection nirvana. Nirvana? Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, hey McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that? Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Fanily. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Fanily and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share 1 or 2 on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos, like you, helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members. Bye.